In this ongoing series, I aim to chart the entire history of one of humankind's most spectacular art forms, animation. In this part, we'll discuss the emergence of hand-drawn animation, spotlighting the spectacular story of the proclaimed father of the animated cartoon, Émile Cohl. This is the evolution of cartoons. Part 4. Émile Cohl and the first cartoon. By the middle 1900s, celluloid motion pictures had become an incredibly popular attraction across Europe and North America. As the art form grew into a common form of entertainment, artists like the French Georges Méliès and British-American James Stewart Blackton began experimenting with various camera tricks to make their pictures more fantastical and magical. With the art of motion imagery finding its roots in travelling sideshows, illusionist acts and phantasmagorias 300 years earlier, the art form was still very much shrouded in mystery, and artists and their profiteering distributors were reluctant to give up their tricks. This left other filmmakers and competing distributors scrambling to unlock the mysteries. The release of Blackton's The Haunted Hotel in 1907, one of the earliest examples of stop-motion animation, threw the world into a tizzy. Audiences were bewitched by the magic of the screen, and filmmakers perplexed as they struggled to comprehend its artistry. Many artists were able to figure it out, and copycat films quickly emerged. French film production and distribution company Gaumont was one such body keen to unlock the mysteries of Blackton's work, and acquired a copy of Haunted Hotel to distribute to Parisian theatres. However, Gaumont's director Etienne Arnaud secretly tasked his filmmakers with scouring the film frame by frame. Artist Émile Cohl is the one commonly attributed with cracking the code. Strangely, Cohl was new to the art of the motion picture, having only entered the industry earlier that year when he joined Gaumont as a scenarist, a writer tasked with coming up with one-page ideas, or scenarios, for the company's original motion pictures. The 50-year-old Cohl, however, had been a highly regarded political cartoonist, humorist and comic strip writer in the Paris art world for a near 30 years. Cohl had worked under André Gil, the best-known caricaturist in France, in the late 1870s, climbing the ranks of the country's cultural elite over the following 3 decades. At a time when political satire was outlawed, Cohl found immediate fame when he was imprisoned by then-President Patrice McMahon for mocking him in a caricature. In the ensuing years, Cohl found himself the editor of various satirical magazines in Paris and an artist for London's pick-me-up humour magazine. In the 1880s, he became heavily involved in the incoherent movement, a style which hinged on absurdism and childlike drawings, and in 1898, he began producing comic strips, sharpening his skills in narrative storytelling. How Cohl wound up at Gaumont is stuff of legend. One story suggests he inadvertently stumbled across a theatre screening a film which he claimed had ripped off one of his strips. Approaching the distributor, Gaumont, he was offered a job on the spot. Another, perhaps more probable scenario sees Arnaud and artistic director Louis Feuillard approaching Cohl to work for Gaumont. Both former caricaturists, it's likely they knew him very well. Whatever the case, Cohl took up residency in Gaumont's studio, working on animated pieces shot with a vertical camera. After cracking the code on Blackton's Haunted Hotel, Cohl produced his first piece of stop-motion animation, 1907's Japon de fantaisie, or Japanese Magic. The 50-second film sees Cohl bringing various inanimate objects to life, imbuing them with very simplistic movements. More noticeably, borrowing from Blackton's Haunted Hotel was Cohl's 1908 film The Hotel of Silence. While no animation was featured in this trick film, Cohl used it to brush up on his experience with the stop trick. Very quickly, Cohl realised he could apply a combination of the stop trick and stop-motion animation techniques to hand-drawn images, in a way bringing life to comic strip cartoons. It's something Blackton had also experimented with on a smaller scale, with films like 1900's The Enchanted Drawing and 1906's humorous phases of funny faces serving as large inspiration. Cohl experimented with this idea profusely, producing many pieces of rudimentary hand-drawn animations to be inserted into Gaumont's live-action films, oftentimes alongside stop-motion puppetry. However, Cohl had an idea that no one had achieved before. He wanted to make the world's first fully animated film. For 1908's Fantasmagorie, Cohl applied everything he had learned in such a short period of time to do just that. Running at under 2 minutes, Fantasmagorie was an incredibly complex show of animation, even by today's standards. The film focuses on a puppet-inspired stick-figure clown character as he moves through a succession of elaborate transformations, shrinking, expanding, morphing, floating, flying. He even duplicates and battles himself. Other characters are introduced throughout, each of which transform into other characters, animals, or inanimate objects. The film took Cohl 3 months to complete, and for it he single-handedly drew upwards of 700 images. He quickly followed Fantasmagorie with 2 more pictures released in 1908, The Puppet's Nightmare and The Love Affair in Toyland. Each film utilised the same, or a similar, puppet character and showcased various transformations. Cohl presented his films with a chalk drawing effect just like Blackton's pieces, as if images drawn on a chalkboard were coming to life on the screen. Each of these films were drawn in black ink on white paper, and Cohl shot them onto negative film, thus reversing the colours and achieving the desired effect. Cohl presented the films with a stream of consciousness style, best described as a technique that attempts to capture the natural flow of a character's thinking process. In large part, this was achieved by Cohl's improvisational style, quite literally making the stories up as he went along, drawing by drawing. To produce his drawings, Cohl placed a blank sheet of paper on top of the previous drawing, which was placed on a glass pane illuminated from below. This way, Cohl could trace the previous drawing while making small changes, ultimately resulting in movement. The imagination on show in Cohl's films is clearly impressive and unlike anything seen at the time. His background in surrealist-type art movements was clearly on full display, with his films clearly playing within the incoherent style. It was also very clear that while trick photography made the possibilities of live-action film seem enormous, the possibilities of animation were seemingly limitless. Cohl, however, found the time-consuming nature of hand-drawn, frame-by-frame animation to be rather challenging, tedious, and frustrating, and he largely moved away from the medium in his following films. He produced the occasional piece to be integrated into live-action films, though the remainder of his career was spent on trick films and experimenting with various forms of stop-motion animation, using puppets, paper cutouts, and matchsticks. Cohl's 1910 masterpiece, The Neo-Impressionistic Painter, was a glorious showcase of various forms of animation, and during his lifetime would be remembered as his most celebrated film. Cohl would jump between various distributors and studios over his career, including Pathé, Eclipse, and Clair. By 1912, he had moved to New Jersey to produce films for the American market. His series of cartoons based on the Newlyweds comic strips are commonly considered to be the first ever marketed as animated cartoons. Throughout much of his career, Cohl produced his work without credit, and after a descent into severe poverty following World War I and the Great Depression, died destitute and largely unknown on the 20th of January 1938 at 81 years old. By sheer coincidence, the 76-year-old Georges Méliès would die only hours later. Regardless, Cohl's works were very well received by audiences and critics during his lifetime, even if his name went mostly unrecognised. In America, they caused a particular stir, inspiring countless cartoonists and filmmakers, in turn ushering in the dawn of the animated cartoon. On the next installment, we explore the rise of hand-drawn animation in America, charting the explosion of animated cartoons and spotlighting the pioneering works of cartoonist and animator Winsor McCay and his pals Little Nemo and Gertie the Dinosaur, two of the earliest stars of animation, right here on The Evolution of Cartoons.